What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you on Lucid. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and where I see things going. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So Friday, it did close in the green slightly, $3.52. So that does mean you're going to see a nice bump up in the stock price, most likely pre-market, if not during the trading day, as market makers are going to be covering those. I think it was 19,000 in open interest for the options. I'm going to talk all about that. But as far as some expectations for this upcoming week, there's a lot of data points that could cause some volatility, starting off with CPI on Tuesday. Then you are also seeing, I believe it was retail sales on Thursday, right down here, and then good old PPI on Friday. So a very full loaded week, as well as companies unveiling their earnings. You do have a couple growth stocks such as Shopify, DraftKings, but in my opinion, I don't think anything is coming out this week that could really disrupt the broader market. But as what we have seen time and time again over the last several weeks, any company failing to give future guidance gets massacred, regardless of the results of their earnings. So in Lucid's case, for their upcoming earnings on the 21st, it is all going to come down to their future guidance. What guidance are they giving for 2024? What's their targets? Like, is there anything that investors should be worried about? That is what people are going to be caring about, not necessarily their revenue and earnings per share. So again, it kind of sucks, but that is what it is. As far as this upcoming week though, you do see the fear and greed index at 78, so extreme fear. So naturally, you are going to see more FOMO happening in the broader market, especially up until CPI. So dependent on CPI data coming out on Tuesday, if it is positive, then you are going to see a very swift move up in the stock price, not necessarily just with Lucid, but the broader market. Vice versa, if CPI is negative, then you could see a little bit more of a swift halt in the broader market. So Lucid's definitely going to get affected by that, because subtracting CPI, you are seeing a lot of stocks going up very fast due to its technicals. Even in Lucid's case right now, looking at, for instance, the Elliott wave technicals, it is projecting for it to go anywhere between the 460 and 494. So you are seeing a lot of good stocks, potentially value stocks as well, going up higher. So definitely stay tuned for the CPI data. But as far as specific to Lucid, there's only these upcoming events, so nothing really this upcoming week. Lucid's earnings is roughly about a week and a half, so you can still pose your questions to management. So these are some of the top questions right now. In all honesty, and no offense to the individuals that pose these questions, I'm not really liking what I'm seeing. And only because, for instance, like, a lot of these questions are very standard. I've kind of pointed out, like, this question is good about salary cuts, but buyback, like, that's not feasible. And then if you kind of scroll down, Peter, like, it's talked on Peter's salary right here and compensation. So it's just a lot of duplication. And that's kind of the negative aspect of this, is just retail is all over the place. And this is why at the same time, a lot of heavily retail invested stocks never really have the good success, because we're all over the place, right? So it kind of does suck overall, but who knows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see what does come out as far as the top three. As far as this upcoming week, and especially as of late, there hasn't been any official news, no SEC filings, nothing like that. Even though on social media, they have been really putting out some pretty good news, especially collaborations with Saks. I would really like them to really put out a lot more PR. So that's something that maybe we could pose as a question to management, just on their marketing and more transparency. What is their plan? Because even more so, that recent milestone of them delivering 10,000 vehicles, we heard nothing from them. We saw a quick tweet and maybe some other social media post, but other than that, absolutely nothing. So I find that kind of discouraging. As far as lately, there has been no real analyst ratings. So the last one was done about 20 days ago, $6 price target, RBC, Tom, who does have a 53% success rating. But do anticipate a lot of analyst ratings as of Lucid's next upcoming earnings. And so just once again, sit tight for that. Analyst expectations for the earnings per share and revenue, even though I did say that it's going to be future guidance that really dictates the success of their earnings, Analysts are somewhat a little bit more optimistic. So right now, looking at earnings per share, it did go from -30 to -20 cents for the earnings per share. So analysts are a little bit more optimistic for that, but they are bearish on the revenue, as you can kind of see, because it does show one new analyst jumping on board. So went from 10 to 11 and went down dramatically. So went from 192.63 million to 178.3 million. So whoever got on recently definitely was very bearish on Lucid's revenue. Still, like I said, though, it's going to be the future guidance that does dictate where things are going, but a lot of people are going to be looking at the metrics. So for instance, how much money they're bringing in and whatever else, just to give price targets. So it's all kind of linked in the end. But moving on though, like I mentioned at the very beginning, you're going to see a nice bump up in the stock price, whether it be pre-market or during the trading day, as market makers do cover these options, call options that are expiring in the money. So at 350 there was 19,000. So generally that's kind of good. Going into next week as well though, if Lucid is able to close above, for instance, $3, there's 40,000 in open interest currently. And if it's able to close, for instance, above 4, based on the 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧 technicals, there's 13,000 at the 4 and then 18,000 at the 350. So you might see a continuation of a bump up. We'll just have to wait and see what the market does bring. But as far as some very strong resistance and support points that you need to watch for, with it at $3.52, it is trading between this pivot and this R1. So now this is the second consecutive trading day that it did bounce off of this pivot point of $3.40. So we do know that is a very strong line in the sand, especially with FOMO happening in the broader market. It does look like that support is going to hold. Again, dependent on CPI for this upcoming Tuesday, but 407 is going to be that next strong resistance. So that does match with the 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧 technicals once again. So potentially it could go higher and maybe test that $4 range, and dependent on the data that is coming out, push it above this 407. So that would be pretty epic, because I do feel that Lucid does have a lot to offer, but again, largely dependent on their future guidance. As I've stated, I feel like for this upcoming earnings, I'll do a little bit more of a dedicated video to my expectations for Lucid for their earnings, but I feel like it does need to be at least 25,000 for their production targets. Some people are, I think when I have brought that up in the past, saying that maybe they'd be happy with 15. I feel like if it is anything below 25, the market once again is just going to crap all over Lucid, because technically I believe for 2024 they should be around, I think originally forecasted 79,000 or whatever. So if they give 15,000, like that's just completely not what the market is wanting. And they've given mixed like kind of viewpoints on that, right? So in the past, Lucid has tried to justify their lower production, saying that we're building higher quality vehicles at a lower rate, and this is what we're doing, more of a Ferrari style. But then again, last quarterly earnings, they're talking about ramping up. So it's very inconsistent overall. So they can't give those inconsistent messages to the market, because the market will just be like, what the hell are you doing? And then you'll have shorts completely just laughing and pissing all over Lucid, as they have been. Because right now, or I guess on Friday, they increased 479,000 shares. 31.17% of the free float is being shorted. 275.9 million shares overall are being shorted. So going into basically their upcoming earnings, like short interest is almost like the all-time high. I believe 31.3% is that all-time high. So shorts are just kind of laughing, right? Lucid has done a lot of things to mess up on its own, not due to external circumstances. So I feel like right now, Lucid definitely does need to get their stuff together. If not, shorts are just going to continue to laugh and just make fun of Lucid and just bank. They've kind of found a infinite money glitch, if that makes sense. But still, all in all, hopefully their upcoming earnings is going to be fairly good. Just make sure you guys kind of review some of the questions that you're posing, because like I said, if they do ask right now as it stands these questions, I feel like A, we wouldn't really get the dedicated answers that we would want, and B, just a lot of these questions aren't necessarily the best. So again, I could be wrong. I'm not a financial advisor. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. Where do you see things going for this week? Do you think that we are going to retrace back down to the threes, or I guess low threes, or do you think that we are going to break $4? I am very optimistic for this upcoming week. I feel like CPI is going to be relatively good, as well. With FOMO in the broader market, you will probably see above $4, but then again, I could be wrong about that. One final thing I just wanted to share with you is take advantage of this promo. It is one of the best deals in the market. So simply sign up for an account with me for $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.